Sunday night, May the 3rd. Could you imagine that it is May already? I think this year is going by fast. And what I'm loving to see as I'm chatting with people is people are still dreaming, thinking big, and believing that life is good. So, I started this little idea to have conversations on Sunday nights and started bringing on some of my friends like Randy Jackson, Ricky Lake, Tom Bilyeu, Jason Waller, Christina Anstead, and many, many, many others. And the dialogue has been getting really good conversation. People are talking about it. So I'm excited about tonight's program. And one of the things that's taking place is that people are sharing and sharing to other people. And that's what's building this base, which is getting pretty big. So do me a favor and share because you care. We're in the middle of COVID-19. Most places are still quarantined. But in the midst of that, we believe that some way, somehow, we are still going to continue to get through and live life, not just go through life, but live life. I'm excited tonight to have somebody that I really, really look up to, and that is DEVON Franklin. And his wife, MEAGAN Good, is tremendous as well. And let me just read a little something about them. They are a Hollywood power couple, not just known for their show business talents, but also for living and professing a strong commitment to their faith and to each other in marriage. And DEVON balances many careers, a plethora. He is very successful as a movie producer, an author, best-selling author, New York Times minister, motivational force of good. MEAGAN Good is a top Hollywood actress, also produces and directs, as well as a best-selling author herself. DEVON and MEAGAN authored a book called The Wait, which is fantastic and getting a lot of press. I've watched a lot of interviews on that. It's a fascinating story of how they met, got engaged, and then decided to wait until their wedding day to have relations. So let's welcome all the way from Southern California, DEVON Franklin and MEAGAN Good. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Trying to get our camera situated. There we go.
I love you both.
Love you back. How you doing?
I'm doing good. DEVON, what's all that writing in the back there?
This is our home, and we have a chalk wall, and people that have come in and guests over the years have just, put their well wishes and words of hope and inspiration to us behind us. So,
I love it.
It's all the love that we get.
So thanks for taking the time, and I mean that. So to both of you, this started for me about 5 weeks ago. I was just sitting here quarantined, and when you're quarantined, you start thinking about creative things.
Right.
So I thought, let me start having these Sunday night conversations with people from all walks of life. And then it just really took off. And so thank you two, because I'm fans of both of you and friends with DEVON. Thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
You guys, because of our faith background, I want to get into that first. So I'm going to give you guys 4 words, and then let's dialogue about those for a second. First word is calling. The second is you got to cooperate with the calling. The third is that God develops character for the calling. And then fourthly, we have to have courage in the midst of the calling. So if I could go ladies first, MEAGAN, when you were a senior in high school, what were you thinking of doing?
It's interesting. Does it have to be senior in high school, or could it be 2 years later when I got my college?
No, let's go 2 years later. That's fair.
Okay, cool. So I think when I was a senior in high school, I was already in the acting business, and I was kind of in a rough patch where I was trying to transition from childhood roles to roles that were a little bit more my age, 17, 18. And I was really struggling to get over that hump. And when I was about 19, I sat down and I was like, you know what? I haven't even asked you if this is what you have for me, Lord.
Wow.
I need to know, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I've been doing it since I was a kid, but I didn't even ask your permission. Am I doing the right thing? And I had to really just give it over all to him and say, I want what you want from me more than what I want for myself. So
Yeah.
I trust you. So you tell me. And that was the first time that I felt God say, yes, this is a part of your calling. However, this ain't it. And it's not about you.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, got it. And so from that point forward, God has always been giving me new revelation. And it's usually like every couple of seasons, I start to get more and more of it. But the first thing I learned at that time was just, you know, that it's not about me and it is about using the platform to glorify him.
Yeah. So Megan, I'm going to stick with you for a second, because you know this, that the calling calls you.
Yeah.
And so many times, in my opinion, the calling can call you through observation and conversation. Observation, maybe you saw another actor or actress and you said, boom, that's me. Or maybe it was through a conversation with someone. How did you kind of feel the calling you?
As an actor, you know, I think I just was feeling like an outcast. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and we were like one of one Black family. And I wasn't going to be head of the cheer team. I, you know, was working so much, I probably wasn't going to make it to prom. And I just felt like such an outcast growing up that I was able to put my energy into acting as a hobby. So the calling was really for me, like, how do I find what's mine? How do I find what's passionate? How do I find where all of my weird kind of eccentricities, if that's the word, are celebrated? And I feel comfortable in my skin being all of who I am unapologetically. And that was what I found in the business, especially as kids, was a lot of just weird ones trying to figure it out like me.
I like what you're talking about, because a lot of young people that follow both of you, they're in that awkward stage and they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. And sometimes it does feel awkward. DEVON, what were you thinking about? It doesn't have to be senior year now, y'all. let's say like, you know, like junior, senior year, high school, first year college. What were you thinking of becoming?
At that time, I mean, producing, that's where I was, you know, focused. I mean, I was, you know, in high school, from Northern California, from Oakland. And so, you know, I knew I was going to go to LA, and, you know, eventually got into USC. And when I graduated high school, I started USC in September of '96. And, you know, and I knew I wanted to produce, I wanted to make it in Hollywood. So that was the year I pursued an internship that ultimately got me in the door. And that's what, you know, has allowed me to, you know, have my ascent in Hollywood. Really goes back to that internship. So, you know, I was very clear on where I was going and what I was doing at that age.
So you do know that that is very unusual, right?
I know.
And it's not easy to get into USC. So
No.
that's very unusual. So Megan, is he usually that focused and that direct?
Always.
Therefore,
Always.
the stuff on the board. I know that when I've eaten with him, he does like order a certain way.
Oh yeah.
Takes his jacket off a certain way, puts it on the chair a certain way.
Yeah. Yes. He is particular.
Okay, so DEVON, let me go at you for a second, because it really is amazing. And me being around Hollywood for so many years, the things that God has you doing, in my opinion, you're blazing new trails. You know, you got to go way back to Frank and Bunny Wilson. Back in the 70s, they had a Hollywood Bible study. And then around that time, Pat Boone had a Hollywood Bible study. Then Tim Storey, me, in 1990 started a Hollywood Bible study. But the thing is, we had a Bible study and we were influencing influencers, right? But the thing truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, which is making you different, is that you're not just influencing the influencers, but you have really become an influencer in Hollywood from what you're doing from the production side and the creative side and making the movies and making the mark. So I hope you could take what I'm saying.
Wow,
so I really mean that, because I'm great friends with Barry Gordy, Quincy Jones, and I see you as a young Barry Gordy, young Quincy Jones, but coming at it from the faith side, which is blowing me away for a guy that's been at this for a long time. Megan, the way he's doing those prayers and like thousands of people are watching.
Yeah.
Easy, DEVON. Don't scare your people. So where did this boldness come in with this calling, DEVON, where you knew you were that USC guy, the guy coming up through Will Smith and all the things that I know about, and then now you're like this bold guy praying at the same time?
You know, I mean, it's interesting. I was just one of those kids that, you know, it's almost like when someone takes to something easily early. So for me, my predisposition, I took to faith early and easy. You know, my father passed away when I was 9 years old. He died of a heart attack when he was 36. And, you know, faith was one of the key elements that got me through.
Yeah.
And so I was just always very committed, very focused, very bold. I mean, dude, back in '96, when I went to USC and I got this internship at Handprint Entertainment.
Yeah.
This just shows like the prayers have always been a part of what I've done. So I'll never forget, I was interning. When I was interning, I was like the third assistant to Benny Medina. Obviously, you know who Benny Medina is.
That's a big deal.
Big deal. And so we were helping Benny prepare for a trip. He was going overseas with Babyface to do a meeting with Michael Jackson. We were preparing him. We were at the office until midnight. Right when we were getting ready to leave, it was me, his other two assistants, and Benny. It was like the Holy Spirit said, pray with Benny for traveling mercies.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? So I said, okay. I said, hey, yo, Benny, man, do you mind if I pray with you before you fly off? And he was like, okay, no problem. So there we were in the offices, did a prayer circle with Benny Medina, prayed with him for traveling mercies.
Yes.
And so, you know, his assistants were like, wow, that was pretty cool. And then later on, you know, he would ask me for prayer and whatnot. And so, long answer to your question, it's just always been who I am. You know, I've just always been bold. I feel like if God has put me in Hollywood, it's there to make content and to make a difference and an impact on the people. Right? I mean, that at the end of the day, because so often when it comes to faith, people in Hollywood have a perspective that's very influenced by the news. And that's always different than what it really is. And so for me, I just wanted to just embody who God called me to be and not be afraid about that.
And I'm loving that because at that time, you know, you had Benny Medina, you had David Gallard.
Yeah.
Then the people you guys had, like J-Lo, Will Smith.
Yo.
Was it,
Yeah,
You know, Jada. You know,
on and on and on. And, you know, that flow was heavy because I've been in those meetings before where I would think about, okay, I want to do this prayer or get everybody in a circle, but that may irritate some folks. Sometimes I did it, sometimes I didn't, but I really am loving the boldness of the calling because you put it out there on the line, but God backs you up. So Megan, my second C was cooperate with the calling, okay? Mm-hmm. So how challenging has it been? See, this is gonna help a lot of young ladies to cooperate with the high calling. So Ephesians 4:1, because as you know, your husband's a preacher. Ephesians 4:1 says to walk worthy of the high calling. Mm-hmm. So that's what all of us are up to. We're into the high calling. Right. We're not playing around down here. So to walk worthy of the high calling, sometimes you got to swim upstream, as all of us know, and you have to do things that you have to cooperate. And sometimes it goes against what other people think. So tell me about cooperating with your calling.
It's interesting because a few things come to mind. One of them is really pressing into that personal relationship with Christ. And really hearing from him for yourself and knowing that sometimes the things that you're being led to do in the spirit are not going to make sense to everybody else. And sometimes they don't even make sense to you, you know, but if you can feel in your spirit and you know that you're talking with God, you're communicating with him and you know you're being honest with yourself and real with yourself. You're not making excuses so that you can do what you want to do, but you're authentically in that relationship with him, then it's just really trusting that. And the more that you trust that, the more that you grow and the more that you have revelation. And also the bolder you are, and the bolder you are, the more effective you are when you communicate with other people, when you speak life over them, when God gives you a word to give to them, even the person that you think might not receive it, you know? And then the other thing is, you know, having patience, not letting the sides of ourselves that want to react to certain things a certain way, or you know, I could be on set and somebody says something about God and I'm like, oh yeah, da 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 da. And then someone else is like, that's not real. And like, just knowing that like, okay, Lord, just give me patience, because if you want me to speak to this person, I'm not going to take it upon myself. I'm not going to think I know best or lean on my own understanding. I'm going to allow you to guide me into that if that's the case. And I'm not going to have an overly emotional reaction about things that at the end of the day, it's not about me.
Yeah.
And then there was one other one that I
No, but that makes complete sense. And Megan, I think that, and Devon knows this as well, that when you start flowing in Hollywood and people start to like you, part of the challenge is not people saying no to us. It's people sometimes saying yes, but trying to take us the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so I'm sure, Megan, there's been a lot of times where either managers, agents, or just people tried to make you a certain type of performer that you knew that was not you. Can you help us with that?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Throughout the duration of my career, you know, I've said no to a lot of stuff. Things that, you know, people said would be career-making vehicles or would take me to the next level. And I was like, but I can't do that. Like, I can't look myself in the mirror. I can't sit before God and not feel like I sold out for what? To be bigger in Hollywood? What is Hollywood?
Wow.
To me, Hollywood is an opportunity to build God's kingdom. So if I'm not building God's kingdom with what I'm doing, then what am I here for? You know, the accolades or the people treating you nice, that's sometimey, and depending upon what you have going on, it's not real. The only thing that's real is him and serving him. So, you know, I've definitely been in situations where people have asked me to say certain things and I had to kind of like, you know, I remember specifically like this one job I went in for, it was a huge movie with huge movie stars that I was dying to work with. And by the grace of God, I got the role. And there was a line in there that made fun of Jesus. And in my audition, I just didn't say the line. And I figured if they asked me about it, then I would just tell them how I feel. They didn't even ask me about it. Did my second call. I left it out again. They didn't even ask me about it. I get to the state and I start filming. Halfway through filming, the director asked me about it. He's like, oh yeah, there was this one line. I don't know what happened to it, but I want to put it back in there. So can we go ahead and do that? And I was just like, okay, thank you, God, I got this. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I was like, I know that I'm not the character that I'm playing, but I don't want to do something that promotes being disrespectful to Jesus. And I just don't feel comfortable with it. And not just that, I won't do it. And he was like, oh, okay, that's not a big deal. You know, he's like, that's fine, we'll think of something else. And I was like sweating bullets because I was like, you know, it's not even that I was worried about pleasing them. I oftentimes hate to come off religious too, because I think that turns people away. And I have to remind myself that if you come off authentic, if someone perceives it as religious, that's how they want to perceive it. If you come off authentic, they will receive it how God wants them to receive it, whatever way that is. So stop worrying about it and trying to be in control of how they feel. Just do what you're supposed to do.
And that's what I'm seeing in both of you is the authenticity that Devon talked about earlier, and then now you're talking about it. And I found that when I first got into that city and working with a lot of people who had, you know, preconceived ideas about what Christians were like, right?
Yeah.
That if I was just uniquely myself, even if they disagreed with me, you were still usually down with me and like me as a person, even if they didn't understand. So Devon, I want to talk to you about all this multitasking you're doing. Okay. All right. So you're like, he's running stuff and running movies. And he's preaching. Then he's got New York Times selling books, both of you guys together. And, you know, a lot of people have done in the past. We got to go back. Dick Clark, remember he had all those shows, okay, at once. Yeah. Then now, present day, Steve Harvey has got like 11 million hundred shows. So Devon, how do you keep all those things in order?
Great. Okay, sorry. Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. That's a great question. And this is why you are who you are, because you just know how to, you know, cut right to it, and your perception is so good. Your discernment is what I mean. So my big thing is I try to look at it as one wheel, just different spokes.
Okay.
So, you know, if my calling is to really help people, you know, inspire people, motivate people, in some way get people back to their divine design, right? Whatever they were created for, I'm uniquely suited to help most people be able to find that design or get back to it. So then everything that I do is really about that. So the movies do that, the books do it, the sermons do it, the television appearances do it. That
makes sense.
So as a result, it doesn't feel like spinning plates. It just feels like one plate is spinning. Now I still have, goals and dreams and desires, and still trying to sort out, okay, God, exactly what is it supposed to look like, and continuing to listen so that I don't just run with a portion of it at the expense of the other things. But that's really how I do it. I look at it as one purpose being expressed in many different ways.
Okay. Can you help me with this one? Because whether it be yourself, TD Jakes, others that have come up in Christianity and now have a lot of influence in the culture of Hollywood, what I find is a lot of people are asking us for favors. So I could be in Philadelphia and somebody wants me to discover their son. Right. I could be in Norway and someone wants me to get their daughter a modeling contract. So DEVON, how do you deal with that? Because people know you're in a position to help make things happen. In fact, I would say a dozen times at least, I've been in situations where people mention your name and they'll say, well, I know a guy, and then they'll mention your name and like, well, I could get my movie to him. Does that make sense?
That's pretty cool.
Because if you try to carry too many people, then it's just not going to.
Oh, forget about it, man. You're going to tumble back down the hill. Here's what I do. I just try to have, I understand that with the territory that's going to come. I mean, truly, every day I get an email pitching a project, or I go somewhere and someone's got a project or a headshot, and I don't let it get, it's just a part of the process. So it's like, okay, I just try to have grace with it. I try to have love with it. Hey, God's not calling me to do that, or thank you so much, I'll give it consideration, or maybe you should try here. But I never let those things don't frustrate me, because that's just a part of the growth. If I'm growing, that means people know what I'm doing. I'm having an impact, so they're coming to me. So I don't let that really get to me. I just say,
and
okay,
this is how
you
seem laid back about it. You're laid back about it.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. And I don't believe I have to be God to anybody. So if God has told me, like on certain projects, I'm convicted I'm supposed to do them, I'm good. I'm locked in. On other things, I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's just not me, and I'll tell you where you can go to get the right help.
Okay, we're talking about being an influence. So we talked about calling, cooperate with the calling. Megan, help me with this thing called character. Okay, so being that your husband and I are preachers, so Hebrews 11:32, it says this. It says that the grace of faith, their weaknesses were slowly turned to strength. And that's what I love, is that at least God allows us to slowly turn to strength and we become strong. So people see you guys so powerful right now, but Megan, you would admit that we are becoming stronger, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So the character building side of your life, were there times where you would get frustrated and say that maybe I'm not living up to the standard, or how did the character building flow through you?
I mean, I think it's interesting because, like I say affirmations over myself every day, and I remind myself who God says I am versus who I say I am. I remind myself, that I'm righteous. I remind myself that he's going to give me victory. I remind myself that I'm loved unconditionally, because I have a tendency to be very hard on myself. I'm always trying to build my character and be better to a fault. The Bible also says, why should you be too good? Like something like, don't be overly good. Why should you destroy yourself? And it's interesting because, I think with the character part of it, I know that I'm always trying to do the right things. And I'm always trying to challenge myself. And the thing I care about most in the world, period, is pleasing God. But I think it's a forever thing. I think you're constantly building, but you also have to have a balance of knowing that you're never going to be as good as Jesus, but you shoot for the moon, so you fall amongst the stars, and you don't live your life at a standard where you always shoot for the stars and fall back to the
I like that. So Megan, what would you say to young ladies? Because I do a lot with Paul Mitchell, the Paul Mitchell schools. And they have over 120 schools, and I'm friends with the owners. And it's really cool when you talk to these young students. Some of them will want to come and discuss faith with me after.
Yeah.
But many of the young ladies will say, you know, Tim, I tried to like be religious, or I tried to be into God, but I just kept messing up. And rather than even try, I just decided to not go that way.
Yeah.
What would you say to young people about just keep on keeping on?
I went through that season. When I was about 21, I felt like I was trying so hard and it just wasn't working out for me. And I felt like everything kept backfiring. I felt like people couldn't see my heart or my intention. And I just got fed up and I was like, I'm done. Like, Lord, I keep trying. And I took everything as a punishment and, all of that. And so I took a beat and I was like, I'm doing it my way. I'll be okay. I'll figure it out. But what I found is that is not true.
Yes.
You cannot do it without him. And if you can do something, you will not have the peace and you will not have the joy. You will not have the favor. You will not have all the things, the fullness that you are supposed to have in him. And what I realized is the second I got back to him, and continued to press in, I got new revelation about not being punished. Like, some things happen because things happen. It's God who brings you through that. It's God who didn't allow it to be worse than what it could have been. Everything is about perception. If somebody you love passes away, you have a choice to say, why did God take them? That's not fair. That's not right. You can say, wow, I am so blessed that I was able to know this person and love this person, and they enriched my life, and I had them for as long as I had them. So I began to mature in my walk and realize that I'm not going to get it all right. I'm not perfect. Yeah. However, if I keep pressing into him, he will continue to develop me. And a life without him is no life at all.
Yes.
Period. And a life with him, oh my gosh, the possibilities of joy and peace and fullness it's
I love it.
beyond your imagination,
Yes.
imagination. So.
All right, I'm talking to DEVON Franklin and Meagan Good. We're almost done here, guys. So your new book, DEVON, how would you describe what this book is about?
My latest book is The Truth About Men, what men and women need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really wanted to write a book. I mean, there's so many books about women, self-help. Here's what women got to do. Here's how you get the right relationship, so on and so forth. But there's not a lot of material out there for men.
Right.
So while the book is for women and men, I've had, thousands of women read this book and they have gotten so much out of it. It's really a manual for manhood. To really understand what we as men struggle with. Every man, I believe, struggles between love and lust. Love is selfless, lust is selfish. And so this book is really about how to navigate that walk, how to be successful in that walk, and how to really become the men that God created us to be. And for women, it's almost like a manual. If you read The Truth About Men, you're going to understand things about men you currently don't. And anything we don't understand is a liability to us. And this book, I believe, sheds light on things that we need to know about who we are and how we can become better.
And you're saying it's possible to live this way. And another thing about what you're doing, DEVON, is I see you with a lot of powerful men, and like men that would probably never be around spiritual people, but it's amazing how we can influence them, sometimes not even by saying anything, but just by being, right?
Amen. Oh yeah, definitely.
Leave us with this thing about courage, about why it's important to be courageous and step into the bigness of God's plan for your life.
It's real. I mean, first of all, it's simple, but it's challenging.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us are raised with limiting beliefs, not about God, but about who we are.
Ooh, it's good.
And who God created us to be. So as a result, God may be worthy, but if I don't feel that I'm worthy, I may never step into the bigness of his plan. So the courage comes in. I have to leave the idea of who I thought I was and step in to who I think I am. And trust that what I'm stepping into in faith, that God is going to bring it about. He's going to manifest it. He is going to, in his plan, allow it to happen. Mm-hmm. That's where the courage, it comes in. I have to be courageous to go against maybe what I've been taught, maybe how I've been raised, maybe how I've been conditioned. I have to have courage to leave my negative thinking, to leave my self-doubt, my negative self-talk, and step into his plan, which is he shows us visions. We see it. That's why we know it's courage. We see it. But it's like, ooh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So I think it's really important. Courage is the key. You have to be courageous. You have to fight yourself. You have to come against yourself. The enemy is us most of the time. We are our enemy. And it takes courage to face ourselves and to step into the massiveness. His plan is massive for our lives. And we'll never experience a manifestation unless we have the courage to step into it, even at the expense of leaving who we think we are.
You know, he's a pretty good little preacher now.
Thank
you. Megan, is there any last thing you want to say to anybody?
I don't know. I heard him say this morning and I loved it. I was like, we love y'all and there's nothing you can do about it.
Out of way. All right, so keep on following them. They have a lot of followers on social media, a lot of followers, everything that they're doing. We'll continue to push you guys' projects during the duration of this program. And I really am so proud of you both. I'm glad that we're on the same team and just serving people, loving people. And sincerely, thanks for taking part of your Sunday night.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love you too.
Life is good.
Life is good.
All right. Man. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
DEVON Franklin, Megan Good. You know what? There's more to life than just being a power couple. I like the fact that they are standing up for what they believe and walking worthy of their calling. We talked about cooperating with the calling, the building of the character, that it's a step-by-step process, and then also having the courage to step out and do something great. Before I bring on my next guest, Dylan McDermott, amazing actor, and my great, great friend, BRENT, I want to tell you about tomorrow night. We do this thing called the World Shakers Network, and that is a smaller group of people that it is a mentoring program. It is a mentoring program where I meet with people every Monday night. It's a mentoring program, and I talk with you for an hour. It's so, so good. And we're going to put some information there. If you want more information, then just reach out to us. But it's the World Shakers Network, and it's every Monday night. And then it's taped, because if you can't get on live, then you can watch it. And then we're launching in about 21 days, the World Shakers Network International, okay? So let me give my next guest proper introduction. Dylan McDermott is an American actor. He's best known for his role as a lawyer in the law firm as Bobby Donnell. And he was in a show called The Practice, which earned him a Golden Globe Award for Best Performance by an Actor in a television series. He's done many, many, many things, American Horror Story, and so many movies, and now has a new show on Netflix called Hollywood. He's going to come on in just a second. And then Brent Bolthouse. I met Brent in the mid-90s. We were kids. And he is an entrepreneur, a humanitarian, a seeker of wisdom. And this man virtually invented nightlife as you see it worldwide. And I mean worldwide, from nightclubs, restaurants, lounges, and he's very much become a mogul. And I love him as a real brother. Let's welcome Dylan McDermott and Brent Bolthouse. Brent.
Tim Storey.
Dylan.
Storey, man.
You guys are looking good.
Wow, that was powerful. I listened to a little bit of that. Wow.
You know what DEVON is doing in the space of movies is really phenomenal. And I love that he stands up for what he believes in. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, they are strong.
So, Dylan, remember when we went to a Super Bowl party at Brent's house?
It was just the three of us.
Exactly.
It's not a party there, but it was just the three of us.
He's like, there's going to be a Super Bowl party. It was us.
You know,
holding each other, watching the game, just holding each other.
What happened? Trying to get my lighting straight.
Hey, Brent, I love your whole visual. Looks very nice.
Oh wait, hold on. I can do better.
Why is he getting a shout out for the visual when I have like blue and
Oh,
plaid?
Dylan's got it on point here.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I just know that I can. Let's see. Boom.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, look at that.
That's the next level.
And it's wild that he actually owns that place.
Shameless,
There's no
shameless
self-promotion
self-promotion.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about life. And I'm going to start with Brent. What is one of the main things you're learning from being quarantined? You know, this is so new for us. This idea of being quarantined, Brent. What's something you're learning?
I mean, it's really pushed me into, a space with my wife to, have a deeper level of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am a man of few words sometimes. And me and Dylan were joking about this yesterday. Like, we're like, pandemic, isolation. It's our favorite place to be. With no people and alone. That sounds like a dream. But, it's been really nice because I've got to focus a lot of time with my son. I have a 2-year-old son and my wife, and we just get to, we're on top of each other because we're around each other all day.
Yeah.
You break away a little bit and go to do some work. My office is very close to my house, so I can kind of just do some meetings over there and just sort of like do that. And we are building another bungalow in Long Beach, so that's under construction still. So I have to go down there once or twice a week and just look at the job site and see what's happening. But I'm just learning how to communicate better, which has always been my Achilles heel in my whole life. I'm still, as a 50-year-old man, learning how to communicate.
So Dylan, this was the first I'd ever heard Brent say this to me. Tim, I'll call you back. I'm changing my son's diaper.
Right.
I never thought I'd hear that from Hollywood nightlife's guy.
No, sadly enough, Brent will probably have to change my diaper at some point.
I got you, bro. I got you. Don't you worry.
I don't have anybody else to take care of me, so he's getting good at it.
I'm a good Florence Nightingale.
Yes. Now, Dylan, before we get into the deep stuff, tell me about quarantine and you. What's it been like?
Wow, I mean, what a trip this has been. For me, for everybody, it's weird because I know I have a lot of family in New York. I have a lot of friends in New York. New York has been really hit hard, and it's been devastating. And then LA has been like, a lot different. You see all these videos on Instagram of the difference between LA and New York, But what it's done for me is made me go into a deep dive about what's important. I got to spend a month with my eldest daughter, and we have never been closer because of that. We really got to spend time together with each other and get to know each other in a different way. Because you know how life is. We're always distracted. We have to be somewhere else. We have a meeting, we have a dinner, we have a job, we gotta go, see you later. And the amount of time that you really spend with someone in a day is probably 10 minutes if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I think this has forced me to, first of all, be more present and to really be here and to listen. And now I'm doing it with my younger daughter and going through the whole cycle with her.
Yeah.
So, I think at some point we're gonna get a cure, and we're gonna come out of this, and we're gonna be better people for it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
No, that's what I think is going on.
Out of your children, how many of them are actors?
One, actually, my eldest is in Hollywood with me. It's her first job. Ryan Murphy was kind enough to give her a job, so we are celebrating in ways that we never thought possible. The idea of my daughter Colette being in a show with me. Now it's a hit show, by the way. It's doing really well on Netflix. So, I mean, it's gifts.
Yeah, and the show is called Hollywood. I said that earlier, on Netflix, and it's doing very well. Very well.
Number 3 now in the U.S.
Wow.
Which is, hard because all those teeny bopper shows people watch.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we're doing great, knock wood.
Love Island.
Yes.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So Brent, we talk a lot about partnership, connecting with other men, men growing together. And recently we were talking about this word called trauma. And as I know about your life, you know, adopted at birth, early childhood challenges, let's get into that a little bit. So when Brent Bolthouse was a little guy, what was going on in your life?
I mean, so my story is I was adopted at birth, and my mother, my birth mother, made an 11th hour decision to put me up for adoption. And a nurse at the hospital sister went to church with my parents in Riverside. And so it was literally like they got a call, like, you've got 36 hours to decide you want this baby. It's coming and you got to make a decision right now. And it was sort of like, that's how it kind of happened. And so I think as I've sort of gone through my life of just trying to discover myself and figure out where my trauma lives and how it manifests in my life, I think that's where it began for me. Like 9 months with my mom, and then she disappears. I'm alone in a hospital for 3 days before, you know, and my mother never held me. So it was like, wow, like it's powerful stuff. And, you know, when now that I have a baby, I can just see like, wow, that's just really, I can't imagine my son not seeing me or Alex like for 3 days, you know, and what that must have done to me at a deep, deep level. You know, to this day, I'm still trying to figure that out to some degree, but I figured out a lot of it, obviously. And, you know, it was just that thing of like being confused. Like I've always had this like through line in my entire life of being confused. And I think that's where my confusion started, because it's like when you're that little and your mom's not there anymore and she was there, like, how do you process that? So it's just this like this deep cellular level of like confusion, not knowing, you know, why I have this, you know. So it's like that deep hole that, you know, being a recovering addict, I've, you know, my teenage years was like,
started early too.
Yeah.
You know, recently we were all having this conversation about celebrity. The word celebrity I've written down means to be celebrated. So we look at Dylan, and, you know, I got to watch him on screen before getting to know him. So when I met him, I thought, wow, he's very, very down to earth. He's being Dylan. He's him. But it's a strange thing at times for people to look up to you a certain way, but yet there's still a struggle going on. And then more and more, Dylan, I'm finding out you had something similar in your childhood, a lot of trauma, quick. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's start with fame. You know, the Buddhists say that the worst thing that can happen to you in life is to be famous. So let's start there. There's you know, there's always a price for everything.
Yeah.
Nothing is free in this life. And, you know, you learn that. I thought that if I got to be a famous actor, all my problems would go away. But we realized that that's just not true, right? But like Brent, I had enormous trauma. I lost my mother at a very early age, at 5 years old. And like Brent, I think this is why we have an affinity for each other, because we have this kinship, if you will, of friendship that two guys who lost their moms somewhere.
Wow.
And, you know, when that happens, talk about trauma, and you end up in this, as Brent was describing, it's almost like cognitive dissonance. Is it real? Is it not real? Is it happening? Did it happen? It's a dream. It's very foggy. Life becomes very, very foggy. And that's what trauma is. And you really have to work so hard. And Brent and I have worked really hard to get to the present tense and struggle to stay in the present tense. Because with trauma, you're always left in this dream of the past. What if mom came back. Is she really dead? Why did she leave me? Where did she go? All those questions are very dreamy. And the reality is that they're gone. And no one wants to deal with reality, right? No one wants to deal with the hard, cold facts of my mother died when I was 5, and Brent's mother gave him up for adoption.
So Dylan, when did you discover the void? Like for me, as both of you know, my father died when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this void that was that fast.
Yep.
Like one night he went to get food for my mother. A man runs a red light, hits my father dies. So it was instant. It was a shock. It's the first time I'd ever heard my mother cry. I'd never heard my mother cry. She's super strong. And damn, I hated that sound. That sound was awful. That sound felt like, who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be the tough one? Who's going to tell us, this is the way, things are going to work out. It really jacked me up. For me, I just raced faster through life. What were you going to say, Dylan?
Traumatized in a very similar way. One day they're here and then one day they're not. Like that. Life changed in one day. And we were never the same for it.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we all went into some kind of recovery to get over it. And we didn't die of alcoholism or drug addiction or ended up in prison. Because that's what normally happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the lucky ones.
Yeah. So Brent, how did you start to write the challenges in your life? Because for a while you got into addiction, and then you started looking for solutions.
I mean, my story, for me, it was like I got sober at quite a young age. So I got sober when I was 16, turning 17, right? So at a very, very young age, I was, drinking, doing crystal meth, smoking some PCP, dropping acid, whatever I could get my hands on. 1984, punk rock, Black Flag was just out of my mind in the desert. And, and anyone who's ever done any crystal meth for a period of time, I was like one of those kids that was like 5 to 10 day benders of like not sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not pretty, and I don't know, that's not like a great, after 2 or 3 days of not sleeping, it's not fun. You just can't sleep. It's just this misery of like not being able to sleep. So, and I somehow had this moment of clarity, and I said, I want to get sober. My parents put me in a rehab, and I got sober. And, one of the kids in this recovery and this sober place in Orange County was like, his dad had a halfway house in North Hollywood. And he said, oh, when you get out, you can have a bed in my place.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up in North Hollywood afterwards. I didn't want to go back to, Joshua Tree and like continue to hang out with those kids that I was doing drugs with. And I ended up in Los Angeles, by accident. That's how I always say it is. It's like, I didn't choose to be here. I didn't choose to do what I do. And I didn't choose to be this Hollywood guy.
Yeah. See, this is,
I came here to get sober, and that's the truth. And I've been sober for, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Still
It's a wild story, because I think, like as a guy who's a life coach, people always think that it's all in the decision. But Dylan, I think you would agree, sometimes it's in the discovery. Like a lot of things that we end up doing, we didn't decide, we kind of just discovered. And Brent's saying he comes to Hollywood, next thing you know, this thing just starts unfolding. Tell me about this idea of discovering who Dylan McDermott is and was.
Well, like your previous guests, I think that this whole segment, this whole talk tonight really is about faith. I thought it was about trauma, but actually it's about faith. I think that we all share faith.
Yeah.
All of us. And I think that faith has always, again, gotten me through. I think I realized that, you know, my life was so out of control so quickly that there was little else where to go. You know, when you have that kind of deep trauma, you do reach out to God and you ask for help because you can't do it alone. And that's the thing about life. It's, you know, life will drive you to your knees. Everyone is going to go to their knees.
Wow.
In this life. I don't care who you are, you're going to your knees. And whether it's in the beginning, it's in the middle, it's in the end, you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always tried to be, I've failed miserably. I've always tried to, you know, have some humility in this life and to have a connection to a higher power.
Yeah.
And understand that I am a very small cog in the system, and that I'm here to, and I still believe this, you know, I'm here to try to give people encouragement, spread that encouragement for people, that if I can do it, you can do it. If I can do this, you know, I mean, I grew up with nothing. And so if I can do it, you certainly can do it.
I love this. I love it. Brent, help us with the need for each other. Like as men, we talk freely. And Dylan, just so you know, Brent has challenged me in ways that other men don't.
He's good like that. That's what he does. That's why he's here.
Man, he has seen me speak when I was so jacked up. You know, like we would have the big Hollywood meeting and Brent would promote it and everybody's sitting there. He's like, dude, are you okay? Not so much. Going through a divorce right now.
Yeah.
But Brent, why is it so important that men find each other?
I mean,
each other.
You know, I mean, it took me a long time to really make, you know, for me, it was like making a conscious decision to say, you know, I want, and I remember it. I mean, it's really weird and I got to give him props, but like early in my life, I discovered Joseph Campbell, Power of the Myth, and Tony Robbins, right? When I was really young. And like Tony Robbins, don't like Tony Robbins. He's a great motivator and he does his homework, right? All of his ideas are not his ideas. He doesn't always give credit for those ideas, but he does his homework and he's pulling ideas from solid sources. So, you know, I just sort of was like, okay, I got to do some stuff and I got to do some work. And I really realized that like intimacy was a big struggle for me. And it was like, you know, it was like, I made a conscious decision to like, I wanted more spiritual people in my life and you appeared, right? From Deezer, like out of nowhere. Like I remember Deezer D telling me for a year, oh, you got to be my boy Tim Storey. I'm like, I ain't into that weird voodoo stuff that you were going to take me to. and I avoided it at all costs because I was always like, I got my own thing. And I was always skeptical of what people were peddling. And I met George, this other spiritual teacher of mine, who's super amazing guy, George Falcon. And, you know, and I was like, whoa. And that was just like Dylan said, that was me going, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I just know that I want to have some more spirituality in my life. And the same thing with men. I was like, I made a conscious decision that I wanted to be closer with men. So like I started like a men's meeting in my house around sobriety. Yeah. I got close with a bunch of guys and I'd never done that before. Like, because me, it's like, I had this perfect upbringing. Like my father, my family kept moving every couple of years. So I could know you, but I didn't really know you. And I was really good at being a chameleon and like getting to know you. So for like my job, it was great. Like you would come into the club, I'd say hi, I'd get so close to you, but not too close. And I wouldn't cross the boundary. And that was probably why I was successful at what I did. Cause I wasn't trying to be Dylan's best friend because I didn't really care. I was more like, I had my job to do and I did it. And I'd get so close and I'd keep a boundary. Yeah. So I had to make conscious decisions and make really effort and push myself out of my comfort zone to say, I want to have closer relationships with men. And it was probably around that same time when I met Dylan. We met at a Super Bowl party. He was there. I took his picture. We chatted. We found out we both were sober, and it was like, oh, you're a weird loner guy too. Great, let's hang out. You know what I mean? It was just like, and we just found that commonality of like, oh yeah, our circles are not giant, right? We know a lot of people. Dylan probably knows as many people as I know, but what's in the inner circle is very small.
Yeah.
You know?
It's an interesting thing because when you guys talk about this, is that people who are not in entertainment, if they were to ever be able to get within the groups that you're talking about, they'd be blown away. But yet that's just been part of your life, your lifestyle. The group that Brent started, so many different groups, you know, it's the best actors in the world, literally. But as Dylan, as you said earlier, we're all just human beings. We're all struggling. Dylan, help me with this thing, isolation, because even for myself, whenever I felt like I sucked for a while, I would tend to isolate myself. And that was not a good feeling because I used to get paid to go speak at these conventions. You'd speak and the energy is high, but then you get off the stage and you're like, I suck. So I would just go isolate myself. But tell me why isolation is not so great for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what I think what you just talked about is shame.
Yeah.
You know, there's some shame to that story, and I've felt that very same way. I don't know. I there's something about, you know, not as Brent was kind of the piggyback on that idea, not letting people get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they know you, they won't like you, is the theory, right? I can't give you too much of me because if you find out who I am, oh shit, no, you're not gonna like this.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna just give you a spoonful and then I'm gonna disappear. You know, and then I'm gonna give you another taste and then I'm gonna disappear. But all the while, I think the theory is there's something broken in here. Something missing in me. And if I reveal that, then I don't know. But you know, the good news is though, Tim, now, this is the great thing about getting older. For me, as I get older, the less I care about what you think.
Yeah. And
that's the gift of getting older.
I so agree.
You know, it's just more about, and not to be narcissistic, it's just me liking me a little bit more. Saying I'm enough. You may not like me, you may not love me, you may whatever. It almost doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think of me. It matters what I think of me.
Yeah.
That's where the trip is. You know, you can get tripped up on what you think of yourself. And certainly for people who have not liked themselves for most of their lives, you know, it's kind of reprogramming that whole thing and developing a new relationship.
That is so powerful. Brent, how would you
change, you know?
Yeah. How would you add to what Dylan is saying about this idea of getting older, wiser? We've all been in therapy and at coming to a place in your life where we're not so concerned about what others are saying about us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, I think in some regards, I think the Kabbalists have it right. Like you don't really teach anyone wisdom until after 40, right? And technically you're not even supposed to do it until after 40 because you got to have to have some life in you, right? So it's kind of like, you know, especially in this town, right? Like I know Dylan like hit it like big early and like you're so
very
young
early
and you're young and you're surrounded by like everyone telling you things and you might as well, you could be 50, you could be 25. It doesn't matter. They're treating you in this certain way and you sort of get you get this stuff, you know, like if it's money and mortgages and house pay, like, and you're a kid and you don't know what to do. Right. So, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I think there's something about suffering that is magical, right? Like this time in life we're in right now is a great suffering of the whole planet.
Wow.
Whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is. I just know that I've suffered in my life big time. I've had a couple back surgeries. I've been handicapped. I've had it all. I've lost it all. And And in those moments of suffering, you have that pivot. There is that thing that happens. It is a spiritual moment where you're like, do I go left or do I go right? Right. And if you can just find that still small voice and go to the right direction, suddenly you go, what is this lesson that we're supposed to learn right now? What is the lesson?
That's so
For whatever reason, right? You believe in God, you don't believe in God. This whole thing is happening all over the world. There's something that the entire planet is supposed to learn. And either we listen and look for it or we get mad at it, right? But it's more about like, because when you're in physical duress and you can't walk or you can't sit down and poop,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
You either hug that and accept it because you can't fight it. So it's the great acceptance, right? Like it is the great acceptance of where we are, what we're doing, and how do we come out of that, hopefully on the other side with some kind of wisdom. Like the Buddha always said, it's the joyful participation in the suffering of the world. I mean, that's like 3,000 or 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
We're talking about this, right? So the great suffering of the world is not anything new. You know, I'm sure they said the same thing like with the Black Plague, like, oh, the world's over. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? Like, the truth is like, what are we going to learn from this experience? What can you personally learn from this time? And can you grow from it? Because if you can't, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right? I've grown so much from suffering, from having all my money ripped away from me. You know what I mean? And living on like a Paquito Mas burrito every other day. I didn't die, I didn't starve, but it was like, it was like I had like $20 a week to eat and I made it work.
Yeah. You know, Dylan, we both watched this in Brent because he's doing pretty well in life. He's married to an amazing woman, one of my favorite. Alex is so smart.
Yeah.
Way smarter than me.
He was texting me questions for you guys. I'm like, I love Alex. So Dylan, when you hear your friend talk about this, because you see his humility. I mean, he's Brent Bolthouse. I see people chase him down. I have people calling me to get into his parties. You know, when Coachella comes, he's got, you know, the greatest party there, greatest Super Bowl parties, greatest parties for Victoria's Secret, on and on and on.
Yeah, that Super Bowl party that you and I went to was just I mean, it doesn't get
exactly.
That was a great party.
I think we were dancing on tables.
Listen, Brent is truly, and I say this sincerely, he is truly one of the greatest men I know. His heart is second to none. He's a beautiful man. And I want to be like him when I grow up, you know? So that's why this is why we have friends, because we're attracted to them. We want what they have. You know? That we want what they have, and I want what Brent has. I want what you have, Tim. So it's, you know, it's attraction rather than promotion, right? So wow. I think that you try to look for the heroes in life always, because they're kind of lacking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take the next 10, 15 minutes talking about what's next for you guys. Dylan, I've asked you this before. You know, you're having this amazing career. I was talking to a manager friend of mine about you the other day. He was bragging on you about this career. It's not easy to have this career you've had. Mm-hmm. It just keeps flowing. Now you got this top show on Netflix. What's next? I did see you dancing on your Instagram. You're a very good dancer.
You know, I don't know what's going on with me. There's a freedom that has happened in me that has clicked in. And it's happened the last couple, and today, as a matter of fact, I just read this on Ryan Murphy's Instagram. He just announced that he's developing a show for me and Leslie Jordan together. A buddy comedy. It just dropped on Instagram, and it was just like, there's my next job.
Hey, let people know a couple of shows that Ryan Murphy has done.
Oh, little shows like American Horror Story, Glee, Hollywood, the Politician, American Crime Story. I mean, the list is on and on and on. So, I mean, the guy's a genius. And,
but he's so amazing because he goes from like American Horror to The Politician, right? Which is like there's not a lot of people that can do that gamut. He's so talented.
But anyway, my point being is not that about me. It's just that when you when you drop into yourself, finally, whatever business you're in, wherever you are in your life, when you finally drop into your life, and I pray for you that you drop into yourself in this life.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, it happened late. I haven't been connected to myself for a very long time, if ever. It took me to my 50s to finally drop into
So
me.
powerful.
Into me. And now I am at the height of my power because I am me. I am finally me. And I'm not, there is no shame about that. So I can dance on Instagram and not think about, oh, who's going to think I'm a weirdo, or, oh, what's he gonna do? Wait a second, how old is he? I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me.
I love that. You know, in all the talks I've given and all the talks I've listened to, because when you're a speaker, you got to hear other speakers. I've never heard this idea of dropping into yourself. That is so powerful.
That's what we all want in this life,
Yeah.
to finally be ourselves, because we're so bogged down by our parents, by our relationships, by who we're supposed to be, by society, by money, and we'll never get to be who we are.
Yeah.
Because there's just too many limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, when you let them all go and you say, I don't care, this is me. This is me, take it or leave it. The freedom in that I know now that I have, that I can now leave this world. I know why I was here. I can now leave this world and know that I was me.
No, that's beautiful. Hey, Brent, why have you decided to write a book? Because we're so close, I know you're writing a book.
We're dropping that F-bomb, are we?
Yeah, but you don't have to say everything about it. But, you know, Brent, the author.
I was so blessed with when we created the bungalow, and that kind of hit the way it hit, because it was like a blockbuster, right?
Yeah.
Me and my therapist always make fun. It's like, it's my Iron Man. Dylan gets that joke. And it was like, again, like, I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't looking for that kind of success. I wasn't looking for this big bar that we could scale and grow. I just knew I didn't want to be in the nightclub business anymore. I wanted to be in the bar business, or I wanted to be in the movie and TV business. So I wrote a couple shows. I sold a show to Stars. I sold a show to HBO.
Yeah.
And they never happened for whatever, like, if they would have happened, I would be in a different direction. And then we stumbled across, the bungalow in Santa Monica, and, and that has become such a, iconic institution in Los Angeles, and I think around the world. And I started speaking at USC Marshall on a pretty regular basis to the business school. And I started speaking at Harvard Business School. And I just sort of tell my story of, like, how it started, where I came from, what my story is. And my story is getting sober at 16, taking money from the mob when I needed it, and, like, Hollywood, and, meeting Leo when he's 14, and then he's not Leo. And Charlize was like, couldn't eat, and we're feeding her, we're like having model dinners, and, then these people become these people, right? So many people in my life were like nobody, and then they became somebody. And if we liked you, we treated you the same. Like, we didn't, I think that's one of the things that at least my humble Midwestern parents brought me up, is like, yeah, if we like you, we like you. And then suddenly if you win Oscars, it's like, oh, that's cool. That happened, and I think and so I would tell my story to kids in college, and they were always blown away, because I dropped out of high school just after the 10th grade. Back, never got a high school diploma, and I was speaking at Harvard.
Yeah.
Kind of genius.
Yeah, and I saw you do it at USC, and they were spellbound. At USC, you were phenomenal. That was so good.
So all the teachers and the kids were like, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. So then I talked to you a little bit about it, and I talked to my friend Neil Strauss about it, who's a great author, who's a very close friend of mine. And I want to write a book that tells my story, that hopefully inspires people. My motivation for writing a book is to help people. Like, being of service is the single greatest gift that the program has ever given me, because I think everybody on the planet should get that gift, right? Being of service and being grateful for what you have. Because when you've had nothing, or you've had everything and you lose it and get it, you get grateful, right? Like our teacher George would always say, you know, it's all frequencies, right? Wanting is a low frequency. I don't care if you're wanting, I want good for Tim.
Yeah.
That's wanting. That's
so
a low
true.
frequency.
Wow.
But being grateful is a high frequency. So it's a matter of just like, I think the human race gets confused by that. Just because you're wanting something good for somebody doesn't mean that it's positive, right? There's an energy and there's a frequency to the whole entire universe. And I believe that. And I think when you're in that space of wanting, whatever it is, good things, you can manifest some bad things for yourself, as opposed to being in a place of gratitude and openness to whatever comes your way. Like I said, if God was like, you're going to make TV shows, I would have done that. If he said you're doing bars, I would have done that. If by the way, if I was supposed to be a rock star and I didn't want to do it, and God wanted me to, I'd be a rock star, because that's how it goes. Yes. So it's just a matter of just like checking into that space of like, and so that's really my motivation for trying to write a book. And I've got a great writer I'm doing it with, and we're in the very beginnings of it, but I'm excited to like tell my story and to help some people with a book that is colored with a little bit of Hollywood, because that's where I grew up. And, you know, it's not some kind of tell-all book. I've had a crazy life in Hollywood. You know, I've had it all and lost it all a handful of times. You saved my ass a couple times, you know, and that's real, you know, like that's why we're friends. Like, I mean, that's what I used to get so mad when like you're going through divorce and you help the entire universe and church is like, is attacking you. It's like, again, it's like, you know, the most unchristian behavior by Christians is so crazy to me. Like, you know what I mean? Hypocrisy. It's like no one has the place to judge another human being ever. That's not our job on this planet, is to judge other people. Our job is to be of service to other people. And just because, you know, like,
that's so
God doesn't care if we turn on a light switch or not, right? God doesn't care if Tim Storey gets divorced. You think that God's sitting there going, oh, Tim got divorced. Oh, come on. I mean, look at how many universes there are on the sky. There's billions we found. You think he cares if you're getting divorced? No.
That is so
that you're happy and you're helping people. Like you know, it's like you always say, God gets more out of you being a success than you a failure. And that's your quote.
Yeah. To think, Dylan, that I would be the guy that I thought was brought into Brent's life to help him. So this was about 17 years ago, this divorce. And to think I was just shattered. I was beat to crap, man. And I could not talk to the religious people, but the biggest guy in nightlife was counseling me.
Crazy, right? It's that way. You think you're helping someone else and they help you.
Yeah. Hey, let's do like final thoughts. I'm gonna go with Dylan first, then Brent, and then we're gonna talk about nonprofits. So Dylan, the cool thing about this program, these Sunday night chats, is doggone it, a lot of people watch them. And so just what's on your heart? Got a lot of young people watching this as well, people with dreams. Any thoughts you have on any subject? Then I'll have Brent go next and we'll talk about nonprofits and we'll be done.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the story goes like this. You know, Brent was talking about it, that we all suffer in this life. Suffering is guaranteed in this life. You can't get around it. You have to accept it, that we are going to suffer here, and we do suffer. But, and I have it tattooed on my arm, that we must never give up. We must never, ever give up hope. You know, a friend of mine just killed himself a couple of days ago, and he was in his 60s, and I've known him for a long time. He gave up. You know, I don't know reasons why. Maybe he was sick. I'm not sure. But I know for myself that I'm a fighter, and that's always been my saving grace, that I never gave up here, no matter how down I was, no matter how low I was, no matter how little I had, no matter what relationship broke up, no matter how alone I felt. I never gave up. And I think that's probably my message tonight, is that never give up. You can carry on, and life will change. Just like this moment right now, which is a very dark moment. At some point, this is all going to turn. There's going to be a drug.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a cure. There's going to be a vaccine. There's going to be herd immunity, whatever it is. And it's going to turn. That's going to happen, you know. So I think it's important that we remember that we've been here before. We've been down before. We're going to be down again, but that we never give up.
Whew. Brent Bolthouse.
Like it. Take it. Fuck it.
That was powerful. I think Dylan's going on the road next. I see him at all these conventions all over the world. Brent, what's on your heart? Then we're going to talk about nonprofits and be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to follow that act, Dylan. I got to tell you, it's good.
You taught me well. You taught me well. That's
No, but didn't that just like penetrate you just now?
Yeah, it's good stuff, right? I mean, I think the thing that
it's a good program. I like this because we can be ourselves. We can talk. We can just talk about real shit. You know,
it's getting such great feedback. I got a lot of people trying to get us to take it to a real show, but like real big people.
Mm-hmm.
And the person helping me to produce this, hello, Diane Hudson, who produced the Oprah Winfrey Show for 23 years. So she's helping me with this.
Wow, great.
Whatever.
You only Tim Storey. But no, this is like, I mean, when do we get a chance to really like talk like this?
Never.
Well, we do. I mean, in our personal
life.
Private. I think it's important for people. I think the thing that I always try to do is get back on the horse, right? I've been knocked off the horse so many damn times in my life, and it's, you know, it's because this is a time, like I said, it is a time of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I'm suffering. My businesses are closed. They're suffering. Thank God we had a little bit of like kind of a plan for a rainy day, and we're going to be okay. I think maybe not. I don't know. Right. But I'm not really worried about that, because I think it's having, you know, like we all get knocked down, and then it's like, what do you do when you get back on that horse? Like, you know, like when I used to pump gas in Sherman Oaks, like I cleaned that bathroom like it was my own. Like I didn't pretend to do the job or hate the job. Like I don't care. You know, it's just approaching life with some level of humility and grace and gratitude for wherever you are on the spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like if you've ever been, like, I remember some years ago, I went to Thailand with a buddy of mine. Amazing. People are so nice. Like you can't believe how nice the people, if you've ever been to Thailand, Dylan, been?
Yeah, I've gone to see
how nice, the nicest people ever,
so
ever. And then someone talked us into going, got to go to Cambodia, right? For like 3 days. Go to Cambodia, right? Which probably one of the most horrific genocides of our lifetimes happened there.
Yeah.
If you are over 30 in Cambodia, you watched everybody you know get murdered. And the people in Cambodia are so much nicer than the people in Thailand. And they went through one of the most crazy experiences of suffering that anybody, you know, Pol Pot was a maniac.
Yeah.
He killed everybody. You wore glasses, he killed you. You could read a book, he killed you. Like, just, he was a maniac. And so the fact that those people can, you know, you go over there and you see those people, and it's the same thing about all third world countries. Like, there is a spirit of like happiness in poverty sometimes that we don't see in America. There's some joy that there's there. I don't know. And that's the magic for me. It's like, God, we got to remember, like, we're so blessed in this country, in the Western world. Like, we are blessed beyond blessings, right? And, you know, and I try to remember that all the time. Like, I'm so blessed. I try to be so grateful. And I know I fail all the time. I'm not great. But that's okay, right? You just constantly move back to that space of gratitude, and it gets you real far in this world. At least it's helped me a lot.
Amazing words tonight. Dylan, tell us about a charity that you're part of so people can look into it, and let's help people. Sure. This is one thing I have is a lot of people that follow what we're doing that really jump in. Brent, last week we raised money for ARC. We're helping with prison reform. So Dylan, tell us what you're working on.
Yeah, you know, my adopted mom, she adopted me when I was 19, Eve Ensler. She wrote the Vagina Monologue. She has an organization called V-Day, and I went with her into Africa. She opened a safe house for women in Congo. Incredible place where women go.
Tim, did you watch the movie?
Oh, yes.
Listen, I got so caught up in Dylan's because you guys you gave me 2 assignments.
You gotta watch.
Keep watching Dylan, which I did.
You can watch City of Joy on Netflix.
So I'm going to watch City of Joy on Netflix.
It will inform everything
tomorrow morning
about the charity, vday.org. Watch City of Joy on Netflix.
City of Joy on Netflix.
City of Joy is a life-changing movie.
Yeah.
Eve is my hero. I know
Brent friend and raised Dylan.
God. She's like, that movie just is so beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous.
So sad, but so beautiful. Like I said, you see people you see real suffering, and then you still see people doing really nice shit, and you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So what's the website?
We're getting bad traffic.
Do they have a website?
vday.org.
Okay.
Yep.
Brent, what charity? You're doing so many.
I mean, obviously, my main one is I'm on the board of ARC, which you had Scott Budnick on this. Yes? You did something.
Yes, Scott was amazing 2 weeks ago.
Scott's such a powerful guy, man. It really just shows you, like, you know, I mean, he really turned the philanthropy world on its head, taking a Hollywood filmmaker and putting him in philanthropy in five years. Like, he's just changed that whole world.
Truly.
So ARC is where I put a lot of my time and energy. It's just, you know, if you Google Ride Home Program, New York Times, you can see some of the work that we do where we like pick up guys that are coming out of prison, have maybe been in there for 40 years, that have no family, have no friends, don't know anybody. And they're getting picked up. They don't know what a cell phone is. They don't know what Starbucks is. They don't know how to brush their teeth. It's just crazy, right? And we kind of try to help these guys because everybody deserves a second chance. And not everyone is who they were when they were 14, right? And now you're 30 or 40 and you're like, yeah, I did something stupid. I mean, I should be in jail. Yeah. Like, you know, I could have been with a girl. I could have been with a guy and OD'd and did something stupid, or got into a fight, high on drugs, and killed somebody. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, that's the truth. It's like sometimes we do stupid things when we're young. And so everyone, and obviously the way the prison reform system is set up is not really working to help people integrate back into society. When we don't give them the tools, we don't give them the resources, we don't give them any kind of like real support. And these are super traumatized humans. You know, it's taken me my whole life to figure out my trauma, yes. And I haven't been in jail.
So we're putting all the information there. So it's ARC. We're both part of that. Brent brought me on that board. So gentlemen, thank you for spending part of your Sunday night with.
Thank you, Tim.
What a conversation. My goodness.
Let's do a part 2 sometime.
We will do a part 2. I feel like I just was in therapy.
We didn't even get to interview you.
Yeah.
It was me and Dylan get to break down Tim's story because everybody wants to know who Tim Storey is. We got it. We got it right here.
That is
I got
part
Tim
2.
Storey right here.
Exactly.
Got him. I got him.
Let's truly do a part 2 because I tell you, this is going to get a lot of views. And this was some honest crap, man. You guys just take me there.
No, but that's the thing. I think that's what people need in this time, Tim. Like,
Yeah.
you've been a natural leader your whole life. And I think you're so gifted at communication, but I think people don't always realize that, like, you're human too. Like, you struggle with the same thing that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
You know, kids, rent, divorce, you
Yeah.
know, what's going to happen. Like, and I think that's what brings everyone together. It's like, there's a humanity, there's, you know, just because our perception of people is not always the reality of people. Right. So it's, you know, I think there's something great about us as men to be humble and pull the covers a little bit and be like, hey, you know, like, we all poop.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's like, we're not, and that's true of you. Like, I think you would open up your audience even broader with you. So I'm ready to interview you anytime.
I agree with you. I really do. And Dylan, I want to end with this. Your lighting looks amazing.
I've been working on my lighting because I do.
Smoky.
I'm doing the Today Show. I'm doing the View. You know, I'm doing a lot of talk shows, so it's got to be right and tight.
Yes. So keep following Dylan. He's on all these talk shows coming on.
It's very boogie nights.
Promoting this
Very
great
boogie
show.
nights. It's smoky. It's mystical.
Do you see that as the night went on? It was like, woo.
Yeah, he's
You
got
know,
it.
it's all about the light. Lighting is everything, I say.
All right, life is good. I'll see you gentlemen soon.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Brent.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Guys, what an amazing conversation. Whew, I'm telling you. You know, all of us are friends with Dylan and Brent, and we have some great conversations. And I didn't expect it to be that good as we're doing it live like this. That really was amazing. I hope you're drawing and learning from this. And just wanted to say this to you. Make sure and share with other people this program, people that need to know more. Special thanks again to DEVON Franklin and Meagan Good for taking the time, to All-Stars and what they do. And also, again, thank you to Brent BOLTHOUSE and Dylan McDermott. Next week's guests, holy schmoly. I'm not even going to tell you who they are. It's all booked. It's all done. We'll start promoting. We always promote late. I'll wait till probably Thursday to promote who's coming on. And I just want to thank you guys for watching and paying attention and even caring about me. For those that want to be closer and talk these kind of talks, don't forget the World Shakers Network. I'll be on tomorrow night, mentoring, talking, giving people a place where they can share ideas and grow. And it's an awesome Zoom call every single week. And there is a price to it that I think is super, super small, but it's worth it. And my vision is to see your vision come to pass. Thank you for watching Tim Storey Live. And I wish you a very, very good Sunday night.